Thank you for staying with us. The world news at 6 begins on the foreign scene, where Macron has urged Putin to stop lying over the Ukraine ceasefire. This is coming. We apologize. The world news at 6 begins on the foreign scene, where France's President Emmanuel Macron has said his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin needs to stop lying over wanting peace in Ukraine while continuing to strike the country. During a visit to Madagascar, Macron said the only thing to do is for President Putin to finally stop lying. He accused the Russian leader of telling U.S. negotiators he wants peace, but then continuing to bombard Ukraine. A Russian missile attack on Kyiv earlier today killed at least 9 people, one of the deadliest strikes on the Ukrainian capital since Moscow launched its invasion more than 3 years ago. The attacks throw yet more doubt on already fraught U.S. efforts to push Russia and Ukraine to agree to a halt in fighting. Macron said Putin was the only person holding up the U.S. proposed and European-backed proposal. Trump on Wednesday said Crimea, a lush Black Sea peninsula with long-time Soviet and Russian naval facilities, was not even a point of discussion and was lost years ago, a position welcomed by the Kremlin. U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has been floating the idea of recognizing Russian control of Crimea as part of a peace settlement. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Abuja has approved the request of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) to arrest and detain 6 promoters of crypto bridge exchange (CBEX) over an alleged investment fraud amounting to over $1 billion. Justice Emeka Nwite gave the order today after listening to submissions from the EFCC's lawyer Fadila Yusuf. The 6 individuals named in the ex parte motion filed on April 23 are Adefowora Olanipekun, Adefowora Oluwanishola, Emmanuel Uko, Shei Oloyede, Avweroso Otorido, and Chukwebuka Ehirim. The EFCC sought the court's permission to arrest and keep the suspect in custody while investigations continue and possible charges are prepared. In the motion, the EFCC asks for 2 things: permission to issue arrest warrant and an order to remand the suspect in EFCC custody during the investigation. Yusuf told the court that the defendants are at large and a warrant of address is required to bring them in for proper investigation and prosecution. She explained that the EFCC had received intelligence linking the suspect to criminal act and that the commission had a constitutional duty to investigate and enforce the law. According to one affidavit submitted with the motion, the EFCC said it received information in April 2025 about a fraudulent investment scheme involving the suspect. The commission said the fraud was carried out through ST Technologies International Limited in partnership with CBEX. The suspects were accused of promoting CBEX, convincing people to invest in cryptocurrency through their platform while promising extremely high returns up to 100%. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, has summoned the chairman of the FCT area councils and the leadership of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, FCT Wing, for a meeting. The meeting aims to find lasting solutions to the prolonged strike by primary school teachers over unresolved welfare issues. Wike disclosed this in Abuja on Thursday after inspecting ongoing projects ahead of their inauguration, planned to commemorate President Bola Tinubu's 2nd anniversary in office. He made the statement in reaction to the protest by teachers that took place early on Wednesday. Describing the situation as very unfortunate, the minister questioned the integrity of the FCT area council chairman. He said the council chairman had failed to pay the teachers their entitlement despite receiving approved funds meant for that purpose. He also noted that some people do not have a conscience and that teachers who take care of children, they should be paid. Wike clarified that primary schools fall under the jurisdiction of the area councils, not the FCT administration, emphasizing that the councils are responsible for managing primary schools. He appealed to the Nigerian Union of Teachers for patience, assuring them that the matter will be resolved very soon. The NUT chairman, Abdullahi Shafa, who led the protest, acknowledged Wike's intervention in the ongoing strike. He noted the release of 4.1 billion naira to the area councils to pay the striking teachers. However, he accused the area council chairman of diverting the funds. He also called on the National Assembly and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) to step in and hold the chairman accountable. Primary school teachers have embarked on multiple strikes over the non-payment of minimum wage and a 40% peculiar allowance. Meanwhile, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, has assured that President Bola Tinubu's administration is working very hard to bridge the housing deficit in the country and make housing available to Nigerians at affordable prices. He gave the assurance while speaking at a special guest at the South-South Annual General Meeting of the Real Estate Developers Association, Minister of Nigeria, held at Jacksonville Event Center, Uyo, today. Dangiwa, who was represented by the Federal Controller at the Ministry, Edwin Gienga, noted that due to the significant housing deficit in Nigeria, President Tinubu has initiated various programs primarily aimed at addressing the deficit and also trying to sustain the development of urban areas. The minister added that the federal government had initiated a federal housing program called the Renewed Hope Housing Scheme, aimed at reducing the housing deficit by increasing the supply of affordable housing to low-income earners, currently handled by the Federal Ministry of Housing. In a recent development, a prominent chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Segun Showunmi, has renewed calls for Peter Obi to return to the party, arguing that his political rise was made possible by the PDP and that his presence is crucial for the party's chances in the 2027 general elections. Speaking on television today, Showunmi said Obi, who left the PDP for the Labour Party ahead of the 2023 elections, owes much of his national political recognition to his time with the PDP. He emphasized that the party cannot afford a fragmented opposition if it hopes to unseat the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC). Obi, who served as vice presidential candidate under Atiku Abubakar in the 2019 elections, left the PDP in 2022 and contested the 2023 presidential election under the Labour Party. Despite running on what was initially considered a fringe platform, he garnered significant support nationwide, making a strong showing against both APC and PDP candidates. Showunmi highlighted Obi's performance in the 2023 elections as evidence of his political value, suggesting that the PDP could benefit immensely if he returned. Reiterating his appeal, Showunmi stressed the need for unity within the party. His remarks come amid ongoing defections and internal challenges within the PDP, particularly in Delta State, raising concerns about the party's cohesion ahead of future elections.
Now, in a very recent development with political parties and defections streaming onto the APC remaining the only certain political party, while the acting national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Umaru Damagum, has expressed disappointment with the decision of the Delta State Governor Sheriff and the party's 2023 vice presidential candidate, Ifeanyi Okowa, to defect to the All Progressives Congress. Now, Damagum expressing surprise at the defection, saying Delta State was expected to remain loyal to the PDP because the party had been good to the state. The PDP chairman expressed his views on the defection for the first time on Thursday at the presentation of the certificate of return to the party's governorship candidate for the November 8th election in Anambra State, Ambassador Jude Ezenwafo. Damagum, however, expressed optimism that the PDP will be victorious in the 2027 polls despite the defections because the elections are about Nigerians and the APC. Now, in a very recent development, however, INEC has decided, or rather moves to enact a certain law saying that there expressing their willingness to allow eligible Nigerians without permanent voter cards to vote in the 2027 general elections, but insists that such a move must be backed by legislative amendments. The Chief Press Secretary to the INEC Chairman Rotimi Yekomi disclosed very recently to correspondents on Wednesday that the Commission was committed to expanding voter access through technology, but emphasized that legal provisions must first be updated to accommodate any shift from the current PVC only system. The initiative followed remarks by INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu in December 2024 during a quarterly consultative meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja. Yakubu highlighted the growing role of technology, particularly the bimodal voter accreditation system, in streamlining the electoral process. Now, onto security. Notorious bandit leader Hazrisu Baniyoni was killed along with 10 of his men during a violent clash with a rival group. The clash occurred in Yoni Forest, located in Zaka, Safana local government area of Katsina State. Now, security forces had confirmed to Zagazola Makama that the incident occurred on April 23, 2025, around 8:30 a.m. Reports indicated that Baba Yoni and his group were attacked by a rival faction from Kabaro, Tudundole, and Kauyen Muhatu Faruts in Sakia ward of Safana local government area. Now, Harisu Babayoni, believed to be responsible for the recent killing of a personnel of the police mobile force in Zaka camp, had been a target of security forces due to his notorious activities. The clash between the two groups resulted in the death of Babayoni and his associates. Meanwhile, details have recently emerged on a particular development concerning the security meeting that was held with the president and the security chiefs yesterday. The Nigerian Governors Forum also has called for increased recruitment into security agencies and the adoption of technology-driven solutions to tackle the worsening security situation in the country. Now, reports by the forum led by Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak made the announcement following their meeting in Abuja on Wednesday. The communique was read by Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma. Uzodimma highlighted that the governors have set up a committee to work alongside security agencies in order to implement a joint strategy aimed at addressing the rising tide of killings, particularly in states like Benue, Plateau, and Katsina. The committee's primary focus will be to tackle the increase in violence, which has seen an uptick in attacks by suspected headers and armed gunmen. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a more analysis segment. Just stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still listening to the World News at 6 right here on the Voice of the People 90.3 FM. In a tragic development, unknown gunmen have abducted the Catholic priest Reverend Father Ibrahim Amos in Kermin Risga Kauru local government area of Kaduna State. The priest was whisked from his residence at St. Gerald Kwasi Parish, Kermin Risga, by suspected gunmen in the early hours of today at about 12:15 a.m. The Chancellor of the Catholic Diocese of Kafanchan, Reverend Father Jacob Sharnett, confirmed the abduction, even as he described the development as a deeply saddening one. He called for prayers for the safe return of the cleric. Efforts to reach the Kaduna State Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Mansia Hassan, were unsuccessful as he did not respond to calls made to him.
All right, Chairman, it's quite a very interesting development to say that the president yesterday met with the security chiefs concerning the prevailing security situation across the country. Now, we know the highlight of it was the consistent attacks that took place in Plateau State, followed by Benue, and then we heard of Kaduna. I'm sure you heard of Kaduna, Kwara State very recently. The Chief of Army Staff told the troops to ensure that they don't want an upsurge of a Boko Haram situation, specifically close down here to the southwest. And the question that was asked was, why did the Chief of Army Staff respond specifically on Kwara State when we've had insecurity bedeviling all the regions and there have been consistent attacks? Now, political stalwarts and analysts are saying that this could be as a result of 2027 elections. So possibly the political permutation is this, that maybe because the North is not happy with the president, supposedly maybe some demands have not been met, or what they expected would be has not been. So to destabilize his administration and make him seem incompetent, they're allowing some of this to happen. Well, we've been talking about synergy, what you call intelligence gathering, strategic intelligence gathering, and I don't want to believe that the Nigerian army do not know those are responsible for this, while they are focused in the northeast and the northwest, in areas that are the hotspot of Boko Haram. And it feels like right now they've been asking for more recruitment based on the security meeting from the Nigerian Governors Forum today, even with the security chiefs yesterday. Details have emerged. It's potentially possible that they have a lean staff. They have lean on the field people because of a lot of attacks that has taken place in some of the barracks where they actually reside. I'm sure you heard of what happened in Borno, where some of the soldiers and where they were camped, where they actually reside in the barracks, where they were killed. They were attacked, and a lot of them.
It's not the first time.
It's not the first time, and a lot of them were killed. So you see this kind of scenario, you will ask yourself, based on that, if there are political connotations into this particular scenario, what should the people do to protect themselves?
Well, the DSS Director General had said the people should look out for options for self-defense. But the question I keep asking that no one seems to have been able to answer is, how exactly can the people protect themselves from the marauders who have more sophisticated weapons?
Exactly.
And when these marauders know that the people dare to try to protect themselves with what? Clubs, maybe knives, maybe arrows and din guns, they'll be like, oh, so you want to stand up to us now? And then they come with more firepower. So it's not enough for us to say, Nigerians or people who are affected by insecurity, rise up and defend yourselves. It is not the job of the people to defend themselves from insecurity. It is the job of the federal government. Now, a lot of people are seeing everything that is happening through political lens ahead of 2027, and you cannot blame them, because there are few people whose posters have been littering the streets across different sections of Nigeria.
We need to be specific.
President Bola Tinubu is one of them.
Exactly.
I also read a report, I think it was about Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, of his posters also ahead of 2027. So when you cry insecurity,
are they supposed to be campaigning
Esther,
now?
when you cry insecurity, when you cry economic hardship, when you cry blackouts, all of these people are concerned about is the next election cycle. I hope I'm coming in. All this one you're saying seems like is your own.
No, but the presidency told us, wasn't it last week, that they were not in support of those who were, doing an outdoor ad on the billboards. And remember, now there's a door-to-door campaigning going on. It's secret. But the thing is this, a couple of persons who applaud the All Progressives Congress that they're not sitting on their R's. For the current administration being a political party that is the APC, they are actually being the opposition. A couple of persons are saying the opposition should actually emulate what the current administration is doing. You're seeing mass defections, strong opposition members, governors of the opposition defecting to the APC, and now we're hearing INEC tell us that they're willing to allow eligible Nigerians without permanent voter cards to vote in the 2027 general elections. So the question is, why now? Nigerians are saying that this is an opportunity for a lot of rigging to take place wholesomely without anyone seeing, without anyone knowing. Now INEC is permitting that, okay, if you don't have your PVCs, it's no longer something that is mandatory like it was in 2023. They can allow slips, computer generated slips. So the question is, why are you trying to amend it now? Is it that during the 2023 elections you didn't know? I remember Nigerians were clamoring, if we haven't had access to our PVCs, even diaspora voted, if we do not have our PVCs, can we have the electronic generated ones? Some persons who lost their PVCs, who went to re-register, were saying, okay, let's do with whatever it is that can serve as an alternative, and none of that was agreed. So why are we not remaining on that stringent measure to observe elections are conducted transparently? And possibly we would have thought that instead of INEC moving in for acting to permit the willingness to permit PVCs. Persons without PVCs, that you would do what you call electoral reform, a proper electoral reform. Nigerians are not comfortable
where they reside and not have to travel to wherever they registered their PVCs
exactly
to vote, because that also it leads to a lot of voter apathy where people are like, why should I travel from Lagos?
It's a mobile impediment. It's a mobile impediment. That you're very right. That very, very much pointed. These are basically what you would have said, the kind of implementations that needs to be added in INEC acts, whereby wherever it is I got my PVC, I don't necessarily have to go to that particular location. What if I have, located to another destination or another state in this country, so I have to come back somewhere like Lagos, or if I was in Kwara, I have to go all the way to Lagos to vote. Like you said, voter apathy. These are the reforms that are meant to look into. These are the reforms that are meant to adhere to. So why are you not looking at all these things? The process through which voting will be easy, the process through which implementation, observations from every quarter to enable transparency. That is what we're asking. Isn't it what we're asking for? So is it wrong if Nigerians are suspecting that this is a modus operandi to allow rigging?
Well, Nigerians are disgruntled, so at this moment, a lot of allegations will be flying, right?
No, if you look at it's not about disgruntled. If you look at the pattern, if you look at the system, we're talking about an overhaul of the INEC as an institution. Nigerians complain that they don't trust the institution, that the institution is not transparent. They also feel that if the institution remains the way it is, then it will encourage voter apathy. 2027 is very predictable that the current administration will actually swim the coast. So why not look at other avenues through which all the vacuum that was observed during the 2023 general elections, that you make sure that it doesn't occur again? Are you coming up with are you going to insist on the IREF portal? What is the voting system going to be like? What other way are you going to present another policy with INEC whereby everyone is carried along?
If indeed you're trying to make things easier for Nigerians,
and if you want to curb rigging, no, the thing is, if you want to curb rigging, Choma, they ensure that everyone got their PVCs. We saw underage children in the north being registered,
and foreigners as well. People coming in from other regions of the Sahel,
4-year-old,
Mali,
16-year-old,
Cameroon, and
so
other countries.
what is INEC doing to ensure that that does not happen? If you allow persons without PVC to come vote, are we not going to see a lot of underage children queuing at the polling units to cast their votes? I mean, that's a very pivotal question to look into. INEC is saying that it all depends on the House of Representatives for that to be allowed. We thought they would come up with other means to check election rigging, to check electoral malpractices, and then you also consider INEC staff, those that they usually outsource during the elections. So
NYC,
exactly, they use core members. So what method are you going to implement to ensure that these persons are not induced, and possibly they're not induced with some financial means whereby they will inflate voting records in some polling units, or a situation where at the collation center, normally from the polling unit, after they've done what they've done, there is a place where they'll collect, where you and I will not be there to see, where those who are the polling unit will not be able to see. So it all depends on the INEC staff or the INEC resident electoral commissioner for that particular state. So it's a lot of issues that INEC needs to look into, rather than having to say you are waiting for those
how to ensure that BVAS worked more than it did in the 2023 elections. BVAS, IREV, and all of the technological, would I say, positive equipment and instruments that they said they would deploy.
For equipment, it's not even the issue. Technological implementation, they said they needed to make our voting system more technologically enhanced. That's what brought up the IREV and the BVAS.
Esther, it's unfortunate, but it seems like we are progressing backwards, right? We are literally regressing, because if you go to other nations, other climes, and I'm not even talking about the Western world, right? Other African countries and others, you have where people can vote from their homes. There are a lot of people being disenfranchised. They disabled who don't have anyone, because you know that during election period, sometimes there are curfews, right? So that people don't move around at a particular time, only towards maybe evening, and some other time people can move around. The disabled, the people who are bedridden, who still want to exercise their legal and constitutional right to vote. Why don't we have that kind of situation whereby people who have what they call thumbprint machines can actually vote from their homes? We have. Now, do you think we have NIN, BBN,
do you think
voters card and all of that, and we still have identity problems? We still have problems with identifying people who are true Nigerians, who are real Nigerians, migrants who came in legally, and those who came in illegally. I've spoken with. There is someone in my area who said, "Oh, where are you from? Are you from Katsina?" I said, "I'm in Niger." He said, no, I mean, you get NIN. Yes, you get. Yes, they don't have it. So sometimes we believe that, oh, because these people speak our language, oh, we are all the same. But this just speaks to the fact that there are a whole lot of sectors in Nigeria that need overhauling. But who's looking at it?
Another thing to consider with the political space right now, everybody is politics, political parties, political strategy. A couple of persons say the president traveled for 2 weeks and came back without doing anything, and you're having the opposition defect to the ruling All Progressives Congress. But a couple of persons will say that one day is enough for the format to change. One day is enough for the terrain to become different. But the question a lot of Nigerians are asking is, what is going on with Peter Obi? He seems to be unperturbed. He seems to be undisturbed. The Obedience do not want him to serve as vice president to anybody. They want him to be the president. But a couple of people feel that now everyone needs to be strategic politically. So they complain, for example, that the Southeast, most of the time they always complain of being isolated, being marginalized and not being considered, but that they're not being politically wise. They need to understand how it works. So they're saying now, if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wins in 2027, there's obviously that he may fly with a South-South deputy. That is somebody from the South-South, not with the North anymore. And then, we're applying a consensus. The consensus is to actually know what the states, how many people actually reside there. They need to demystify this whole idea or illustration or illusion that the North has the highest population. So they feel that when it comes to the political angle or edge, when it comes to winning elections, that they have more of the population. So the idea is to demystify it. But do you think that demystifying it is the case? For example, if the federal government right now, or the administration or the APC as a political party, is concentrating on the middle belt, because that's basically what they want to look into now. If they can get the votes of the middle belt, then possibly they have an edge, right? But what about the fact that some other regions whom they think may not even make any difference? They always feel that the Southeast doesn't really make any difference when it comes to voting. So those regions that they think will not make any difference, and considering what the strategy on the board is right now, do you think that the Labour Party or the PDP has any chance whatsoever? Because it's about bringing in a candidate. It's about the candidate that these parties will present that would work. So why the silence? Is the silence about not time? Let's wait till 2026. What do you think? If some persons are already doing door-to-door campaigns, subconsciously imposed in the political party in the faces of people, they are already gearing up.
Yes, if you realize something, the people who are more concerned about power and political permutations, they are the political elite. The people at the lower rung of the ladder just want good governance. They just want food to be cheaper for them. They want to be able to send their children to school. They don't want to always have frequent blackouts. They want to be able to pay. They want electricity to be affordable.
But the problem now is that they're all about 2027. Governance seems to be stagnant.
We realize by now that it's not about the party. I mean, the vice presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2023 elections has defected to the APC. So what do you want to tell people? You're talking about saying, oh, it's for the dividends of democracy. Dividends of democracy for the people or for you and your family? Right? So these are the questions we need to keep asking. Every time I'm hosting matters, I tell the people, look, it's not enough to complain. What are you doing ahead of 2027? I think it was Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State who said it is APC versus the people. The people are the opposition.
Yes, that was the opposition
parties that opposition parties that are supposed to represent the people are busy trying to find their own footing ahead of 2027. Everybody's trying to save their head at the end of the day. And the people, the person who some people see as a messiah, I would say Peter Obi, that's of the Labour Party, the Obedience, when they'll say, oh, some of you see him as a messiah. Not at the end of the day, he is not a messiah. The reason why a lot of people believe him is because he seems to be saying something different from what others are saying, like, oh, I want Nigeria to work. It doesn't even have to be me and all of that. He's always everywhere. He seems to be empathetic. But at the end of the day, the people you decide to pitch your tent with can also decide how much respect, how much belief the people have in you. And he, like you've said countless times, in a very tight corner at the moment. You stay in the Labour Party, problem. If you leave the Labour Party, problem, because you'll be accused of political prostituting, actually.
Not necessarily, but they may also think that it's all about selfish interests. Anytime you're in a political party and there's a crisis, you leave the party, go join another party. You claim that you want the betterment of Nigeria, but it's all about you, and that's why, that's basically the kind of perception that has been had. But do you think that if he remains in the Labour Party's political suicide?
Labour Party, that is 3-story building. Where exactly is he? We don't even know if he's in the middle or he's at the top or he's at the ground floor. But right now, Labour Party is so divided that it seems Peter Obi himself doesn't know where he stands, and he always tries to say, "Oh, there's no crisis. We know what we are doing." But everyone with eyes can see that there's crisis within the party. Labour Party does not seem to be. The opposition does not even seem to be ready. The ruling party is the one that seems to be acting like an opposition at this moment, right? They critique themselves, tell themselves, "We are doing well." And then they go ahead of this is April 2025, but we have people already campaigning ahead of 2027. While Atiku seems to be trying to gather the broken pieces of a coalition that seems not to want to be.
Atiku self is not even the PDP, but they just said Atiku and Wike needs to leave. That Atiku is a problem of the PDP at this time.
Wike congratulated Oboro and Okowa saying you made the right choice.
No, they've not had their national.
Wike himself is actually supposed to have also announced his, because with the way he's been moving.
No. According to Chief Bode George and Segun Showumi, they will have their convention very soon. It's at the convention that the party policies, the party rules and regulation will be applied to. Those who have betrayed the party, those who have conducted anti-party activities will officially be expelled.
The PDP doesn't seem like a serious party at this moment. They're not moving like a party that is ready to actually.
Or you think the party has been taken over by the Ruling All Progressives
Congress? If they did,
Congress?
then they allowed that to happen.
But Choma, do you think that if it was easy to rig elections, do you think the APC will be working hard right now, starting from now, to make sure that the opposition is crippled? If it was that easy to rig, I'm just saying, because if it was a very thing to do, it was a very easy thing to do, they wouldn't be bothered. They're working. It's a ruling party, but they're working like an opposition. So why can't the opposition take a cue? Or is it that the kind of politicians, the crop of politicians now are politicians without integrity? Is that what it means? Because I cannot understand how just a party that gave you a ticket, and then just because you think that you don't have the possibility of getting a return ticket in 2027, how are you certain that in 2027 you'll be re-elected because you come to the APC? How are you certain about that?
That's what's funny with a lot of people who have been defecting, because you had loyalists there before you came. You cannot expect them to give you whatever it is that you desire on the platter because you become a part of the APC. Esther, I predict that in the future we'll see a lot of people coming out to say a lot of things like Babangida did earlier this year when he came out to tell us, to say something that a lot of people said they already knew then. But right now, what you said about integrity is very, very true. A lot of people do not have that integrity. It seems that many of our political elites they don't see Nigeria as salvageable. So they want to get whatever they can from their positions right now and get out of Nigeria and go live a better life while the rest of people continue to languish. What I'll just say to Nigerians is your vote is your power. You have just one vote.
You don't have any
just
choice.
like the next person. If the ruling party and other opposition parties are gearing up ahead of 2027, there's no reason why you should not be doing the same. If you want a better Nigeria, you should be willing to walk the talk. You should be willing to do the work. You self start your own door-to-door campaigns. If you have a candidate that you believe this is the best person, you have to start trying to convince your neighbors that this is the person you should vote for.
That is basically what the opposition is supposed to do. While they are trying to join any form of coalition, start the grassroots mobilization. Subconsciously implement your political party and its ideals in the minds of those people. The current political party is already doing that, and they're working straight on. They are not relenting. So why can you not take a cue? Is it in 2026 when everybody is just trying to get along themselves that you're not trying to say, support our political party, this is what we stand? Obviously, no one is going to take you serious. They will say, oh, it's just because you want to win power. If the opposition's drama or opposition's purview is just to take over in 2020, if that is the case, I don't think that they have any chance. If it is just to unseat the president, because let me tell you, it happened with the APC in 2015. When that coalition came, they did not know they were going to win, as it were. And when they did win, for 6 months, the administration was trying to have a footing. They didn't know who to appoint. Everything was slow for 6 months. The president's cabinet at that time with Muhammadu Buhari was very slow to form. So if that is the only reprieve for them, or their priority, just to unseat this administration without having any cue on what they want to do when they get the power, it will also be a downfall for them.
You know, Moele actually raised that concern, saying the last time we had a coalition, Nigerians were stuck with the APC. Maybe this next coalition might even be worse. One thing many Nigerians should learn from the APC actually is never too early to start trying, never too early to start planning.
Exactly.
No matter how far away it seems. So
exactly.
The more you keep procrastinating, before you know, you wake up and the day is here and you're not prepared. It's like
that's
you're
why
not reading for exams during the semester.
That's why a lot of people think that. That's why a lot of people give
going to read
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu the inscription of he's politically sagacious. He understands politics so well. Okay, so maybe he understands politics, but governance may be a different thing. Well, everyone should take a cue. Nobody's waiting for it. And politics has no sentiment. So those who want to key into it should key into it if indeed they want to be part of the game and want to win the current person in power.
No,
but otherwise,
sit aside
exactly.
and say, I want.
And sentiments are no longer getting any foothold. No more sentiments.
You have no right to lament if you do not walk the talk, if you do not do the groundwork that is needed for a better Nigeria. You should be able to say, I did my best when I had the chance to, when I had the time, and when I had the energy too.
Precisely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap on the world news at 6. We sincerely do appreciate you staying with us. Up next is the evening rush at 7 o'clock. Good evening and thank you for listening. My name is Esther Wachuku.
My name is Chema Innocent.